Good afternoon. Another awesome day. Today is Parshat Va'ata Tetzaveh, where we read about the menorah that was kindled in the Bet HaMikdash every single day. And the rabbis tell us that the menorah wasn't there to kindle, to bring light into the temple, but to remind and to be a symbol of the light that the Bet HaMikdash and the tabernacle before it gave to the world. In fact, the rabbis tell us that the windows of the Beit HaMikdash were specifically made narrow from the inside and wide from the outside, so as to remind us that from here light hence goes forth towards the world, that the Beit HaMikdash is supposed to be a beacon of light, a symbol of hope, of spirituality, of godliness to all that seek it. And that's why the menorah had to be kindled every day. And Aaron's responsibility, God tells Moses, was to make sure there's enough oil to burn for the entire day. As leaders, we are there to give hope, to give courage, to give light to the world. As Jews, that's our responsibility, to remind everyone of the miracles, of the opportunities, of the spirituality, of God watching them. Neiros laha'ir, lights, not just to light, but to illuminate the world. It's a remarkable teaching of the Torah, because when we share our light, we only grow it. It never diminishes us. And talking about miracles, today I was by my dentist and I was getting my teeth cleaned. And this is a remarkable woman who's a Latvian, originally from Latvia, Latvian Jewish woman. And she says, now that I have your attention and I have sharp utensils in your mouth, let me tell you a remarkable story that happened to me this week. And I'm listening, and she tells me the story. She grew up in Latvia. And she says her mother grew up in Latvia, and her mother always told her that when she was 3 years old, her grandmother was pregnant again with another child. She was one of 7, this hygienist's mother. And at that point, her grandfather came in to her grandmother and said, listen, the Nazis are coming to Latvia. We gotta go. And before the war, Latvia was a vibrant Jewish community. And being pregnant with all the other children and with her little 3-year-old mother on her side, her grandmother left, and together they started running away from the Nazis. And she said that my uncle, my mother always told me that her brother was actually born in a ditch as they were running away from the Nazis. My grandmother gave birth in a ditch to my uncle, who was 3 years younger than my mom, and literally got up and continued walking. Imagine, right after giving birth to the baby. And she said, my mother and grandmother always told us that there was this man, a family called Falk, who saw us with a brand new little baby and asked my mother to come into their wagon. And that way, for the next 3 weeks, when everyone walked, my mother was able to be in a wagon. And who knows, my grandmother, and who knows what would have happened if she had to walk, if she would have bled to death or died. She had just given birth. And I heard this story all my life. We immigrated. We came to America. And then she says, I'm on this Facebook group for Latvian Jews. And a few days ago, I think she said Monday, someone posted that today would have been my father's 116th birthday. And I see his name is Falk. So I reach out to him and I say, I see you're Latvian descent. Your name is Falk. I'm wondering, we always heard the story growing up from my mother about how my grandmother was invited into this wagon running away from the Nazis that literally saved her when she had just given birth to her brand new baby. I thought maybe it could be you. And the guy writes back to her and says, oh my, I've always heard the other side of the story from my father, telling us how they invited this young couple, this little mother who just gave birth to a baby, into their wagon, running away from the Nazis. And in fact, he says, my father always told me that he held this 3-year-old girl who was the older sibling of this baby the entire way. When they were walking, when they were going in the wagon, he held them the entire way. And here's this woman, the hygienist, is telling me, for my whole life, I heard this story about my grandmother and my mother. And here, 90 years later, almost, 1941, do the math, 80 plus years later, I get to meet the family, the other side, the one who saved us, the story of the person who embraced us and held my mother and invited my grandmother with their little baby into their wagon. Talking about being Neirot Lahar, being menorahs that emanate light to the world, emanate kindness, emanate warmth, emanate hope. This story gave me so much hope about Jewish survival, Jewish chesed. And as we come to Purim, we continue those miracles in those days, in these times. Take care.